Dear professors and researchers, I'm Xiefeng, a graduate student from Inner Mongolia University of Financial and Economics in China. It is a great honor to participate in this academic conference. Next, I will show our research. Our research is study on urban travel volume during the outbreak of COVID-19. I will introduce our research stand by stand from the following 5 parts. 1. Research background. 2. Research context. 3. Research method. 4. Conclusion. 5. Discussion. The first is the research background. The COVID-19 broke out in Hubei province in 1919. The Hubei government took a series of strict measures, including city closure, home isolation, and so on, to control the spread of COVID-19. The picture shows the street view of Wuhan after its closure in 1919. One of the fundamental reasons why the epidemic situation in Hubei province can be quickly controlled is that strict prevention and control measures have greatly reduced the travel flow of urban residents. The distribution and change of travel flow reflect the urban pattern and the activity of travel population. Understanding the urban pattern and the activity of travel flow is of great significance to urban planning and government decision making. Therefore, we hope to have an in-depth understanding of the space distribution and changes of traveling flow in Hubei province during the epidemic. This is helpful to understand the mechanism of COVID-19 and can provide some suggestions for government. Next is our research context. The analysis of the distribution and change of urban traffic flow is usually carried out from 2 dimensions of space and time. The space dimension reflects the regional structure, including autocorrelation and heterogeneity. The time dimension reflects the fluctuation of urban travel volume with time, but the urban travel volume is not all stable change. In a few cases, there will be abnormal fluctuations. Therefore, some research have added the space-time dimension to the model in recent years. The model of time-space dimension is to detect the abnormal fluctuation of traffic flow. With the help of Baidu open source travel intensity data, this paper analyzed the travel flow distribution and changes of each city in Hubei province from January 1, 2020 to May 1, 2020, based on Bayesian hierarchical model. Area in our research is Hubei province, which is divided into 17 areas by city level. Which city is an analytical unit. This picture shows some data of travel intensity, which shows the travel intensity trend of Xianyang City, Wuhan City, and Kinmen City. The third part is our research methods. The Poisson likelihood method of data is used to model the regional counting variability under the condition of unknown parameters. In the first level of the model, suppose the change in traffic YT follows a Poisson distribution with mean QIT multiple Ni for each region, as the formula Y. YIT is the travel volume of Li dt. Ni is the number of permanent residents of Li. QAT is the travel intensity for region I and dt. The travel intensity is equal to the ratio of the number of trips to the number of permanent residents. In the second layer of the model, we decompose QIT on logarithmic scalar into intercept alpha, space effect zeta I, time effect omega t, space-time effect epsilon it, as the formula 2. The space-effective zeta I shows the spatial distribution of the relative travel intensity ratio in the study area. The time effect omega t shows the overall time trend of travel intensity in all regions. The spatial temporal effect epsilon it shows the predictable function of the relative ratio. And then we set a prior distribution for parameters like zeta I, omega t, and epsilon it. Finally, we define a stability judgment based on space-time effect. In our research, the posterior parameters of our model are implemented by Winbus software. We simulate the model with two chains with different starting values, and after discarding the first 200,000 iterations of aging, we calculate 200,000 to 215,000 posterior results. As shown in picture, the results of two chains of parameters gradually cross each other from different starting points in the trajectory diagram and finally fluctuate stable in a small range, which shows that our model is convergent and the parameter posterior values are stable and reliable. The first part is the result. In order to test whether the Bayesian space-time hierarchical model can be overfitted and deviate from the actual results, we establish a Bayesian main space hierarchical model. The space effect calculated by main space model is compared with the space effect calculated by space-time model. As formula 9. By calculating the posterior probability zeta I of main space model and comparing the value of zeta I of main space model with that of space-time model, the result shows that the estimated value of the two models was slightly different, and the correlation coefficient was 0.9998. Picture depicts the spatial effect level in the main spatial model and the spatial effect levels in the spatial temporal model for each region. From digital results and the visual results, it can be concluded that the accuracy of the spatial effect value can be not lost when the spatial temporal model is used. This is the experimental result of spatial temporal model. The posterior results are accurate and stable with credibility. For space-effective Zi in the space-time model, we calculate a posterior distribution of the space effect. In 17 cities in Hubei province, about 59 cities had spatial effect less than 1. About 14 of the cities had a spatial effect greater than 1. The spatial effect greater than 1 indicates that the urban travel volume has high activity, which also means that the social distance of these cities is relatively small. Some studies have shown that the social distance is negatively correlated with the spread of COVID-19. Therefore, the higher space effective of the city, the faster COVID-19 spread, which is not conducive to epidemic prevention and control. In fact, Hubei province did make strong social distance interventions after the discovery of COVID-19. The map of posterior probability of time effect in the spatial temporal model is shown in picture. After January 20, 2020, the time effect posterior distribution decreased rapidly to about 0.5 and lasted for nearly a month. Reflected the city in Hubei province after January 20th issued after the closure of the city orders. The overall travel flow has indeed been effectively controlled. After mid-March, the lifting of closure in most cities allowed traffic to gradually recover and approach January levels. For the time-space effect epsilon it, we focus on the spatial-temporal effects of the second part of classification of urban stability. The stability of our region is classified by the threshold PIT is equal to 0.5. The result shows that both roads found Wuhan was the only unstable region, and this kind of instability mainly displays in January 1st, 2020 to January 20th, 2020. That is to say, the flow of travel was very volatile before the closure of Wuhan, coupled with Wuhan's own larger flow of travel, making social distance and increasing the and increasing the frequency of contact. We speculate that this may be one of the important reasons why the cumulative number of confirmed cases of the COVID-19 in Wuhan is much higher than in other cities. The last part is the discussion. The construction of a space-temporal model provides a perspective for the epidemic prevention and control. When facing COVID-19, cities with high space effect and cities in an unstable state should be paid more attention. This paper simply considers the relation between the space-temporal model and the epidemic situation. The impact of space-temporal hierarchical model on the epidemic transmission can be further discussed. That is our research content. Thank you.